This episode of the AI Inside podcast is brought to you by Aria. Get started for free today at airia.com. Hello, everybody, and welcome to AI Inside, the podcast where we take a look at the AI that is layered throughout the world of technology. And we've got some really fun stuff to talk about today. I'm one of your hosts, Jason Howell, joined as usual by Jeff Jarvis in his studio. Good to see you again, Jeff.
Hello, boss.
Good to see you upright once again. Getting better slowly but surely.
I'm getting there. I went out and walked a mile and a half today. So I'm
right on. That's more than I walked.
cane.
I haven't walked anything hardly. I've gone upstairs and downstairs. Nudged the kids out of the house to get to school on time.
Yeah.
So that's and then a lot of sitting on the couch preparing for this show.
Yes.
That is my Wednesday morning ritual. There, by the way, just peeling the curtain back a little bit, it is possible that our friend Mike Elgan might stop in at some point throughout today's show. So if he does, we'll introduce him into the show, and if not, we'll have him back another time. It's totally fine. But we've got some really interesting news, starting with Yann LeCun, friend of the show.
Friend of the show. Yep.
I love being able to say that. Yann LeCun's Advanced Machine Intelligence, or AMI Labs. This
Or
news
French,
yesterday.
for friend.
Oh, that's an interesting connection that I hadn't made. Ami. Okay, there you go. That makes sense because the business is based out of Paris, right?
Yes,
I think
officially.
the
Paris,
company
New
is
York,
officially.
Singapore, Montreal, I think it is. But yes,
Okay.
Paris is the HQ. So they're considering themselves a European company.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, why are we talking about Yann? Because his world model focused startup, which is Advanced Machine Intelligence, has now officially raised just over $1 billion. This was shared yesterday by the company. That's nothing to sneeze at.
That's seed money. That's just the first
money.
bit at a valuation
Holy
of $3.5 billion.
Wow. Okay. So world models, there might be something to this, or all these funders are saying like if there is, Yann's the one to explore it. So let's put our money into.
And we've talked about this a lot on the show from when we interviewed Yann, and by all means look back at that interview because you're going to see him explain it very well. He said it on the his Facebook announcement. I think he expressed it very succinctly. Advanced machine intelligence is building a new breed of AI systems that understand the world, have persistent memory, can reason and plan, and are controllable and safe. And these are the things he's been emphasizing. Yann poo-poos the whole destroy the world thing because he said you give a machine a task and that's the task it does. He also, there's nothing in there about AGI. There's in there about machines that can be intelligent and can do tasks. They can reason, for God's sakes, and plan, but they're going to be limited in scope. And that it's understand the world is the key rather than text. So I think that expresses the whole thing pretty clearly, and a lot of enthusiasm around it. I mean, the investors, let me pull it up here, Jason, are an impressive lot. It's a worldwide, he said he wanted to get a worldwide sense of investment. So the five firms led Cathay Innovation, Greycroft, Hero Capital, HV Capital, and Bezos Expeditions, which is Jeff's personal investment arm. In addition to that, investment from Nvidia, Toyota, Samsung, Singapore's Temasek is anticipated, alongside the French VC firm Daphne, South Korean investor SBVA, and a long list of prominent individuals, including Tim and Rosemary Berners-Lee, going back to the roots here, venture capitalist Jim Breyer, Mark Cuban, Shark Tank, and Eric Schmidt. So a very impressive lot of investors. Now, I don't know that that's all of them. What's interesting to me about this is that I thought that either Meta or Mark Zuckerberg would be in this pantheon. He may be, but in the coverage, I didn't see his name mentioned.
That is interesting. I wonder if there's any sort of a little bit of a schism in there as a result, or who the heck
or a sense
knows?
of conflict, maybe.
Yeah, Yeah.
No, I don't mean conflict in terms of fighting. I mean conflict of
Right.
interest kind of conflict. But a very impressive set of investors. Yann is going to be the executive chairman. He has another executive who's going to be in charge of the company. Pull that up again.
Yeah, that's right. Alexandra Lebrun, I believe, CEO.
Lebrun,
Alexandre.
who ran a company called Nabla, which is a medical AI startup. And Nabla is going to be kind of their first proof of concept. They're not aiming, they made clear, they're not aiming to say, oh, we're going to get a product out in 3 months and get revenue. This is a research arm that's going to be doing high-end research. I just read the history of the Bell Labs, and there's nothing quite like that anymore, but we need that level of research. And Yann being a professor from NYU, that's what he does. But they're going to use Nabla as a first company, and they are going to have clients. They are going to try things with people. The fact that Toyota's in there, I think, is really, really interesting in terms of self-driving cars and real-world models. The fact that Nvidia is investing, of course, Nvidia is investing in a lot of stuff these days. There's more of that today.
All over the place, yeah.
But I think that's important. We know that Jensen Huang cares about real-world models as well, and digital twins and all that. So I'm really excited about this because I think that as TNW, the Next Web, put it in their headline, Yann LeCun just raised $1 billion to prove the AI industry has got it wrong. And Yann shared that, I think, with some glee. Because he's been arguing the LLMs are amazing, and he's one of the people who made LLMs possible, but they only go so far with text alone. And so I hope we start to see stuff from Ami sooner than later, just so we can spy on the fascinating things they'll be doing. They're going to be very open source oriented as well, which I think is really important. What else? I think that's
$1 billion is just that's a large amount of money that says something about this effort, says something about where we're at right now, and to a certain degree at least backs up Yann's claims with some confidence that the LLM is not the end game as far as as human level intelligence is concerned. Yeah.
Let me read some from their homepage because I think it extends on what he said in his own announcement. Our main goal is to build intelligent systems that understand the real world. Okay, we know that. Real world data is continuous, high dimensional, and noisy, whether it is obtained through cameras or any other sensor modality. Generative architectures trained by self-supervised learning to predict the future have been astonishingly successful, hat tip, for language understanding and generation, but much of the real-world sensor data is unpredictable, and generative approaches do not work well. And I've read a paper that he was involved in that was really interesting that pushes that it's not about trying to predict pixel to pixel, because it's impossible. You can't. He's trying to move to a concept level, like this is a chair. People move things, understanding the world at a much richer level. AMI
common sense comes up for me, kind of a common sense level, and
he keeps mentioning cats and toddlers.
Yeah, right.
That they develop an understanding of the world that is not about language at all, but they understand the motion of things, the relationship of things, cause and effect, and so on.
Yes.
So he said AMI is developing world models that learn abstract representations of real-world sensor data, ignoring unpredictable details, and then make predictions in representation space. These agentic systems, they allow agentic systems to predict the consequences of their actions and to plan action sequences to accomplish a task subject to safety guardrails. That's clear what he's been saying. It'll advance research, develop applications where reliability, controllability, and safety really matter. Founded by a globally distinguished team of scientists, engineers, and builders. We share one belief: real intelligence does not start in language; it starts in the world.
100%.
Cats and kids.
And that's core to what his argument has been is, we all start as a very young infant vessel, and we don't have the language component. What we do have is the felt sense, the experience, to kind of shape our understanding of how the world works. And that's something we know before anything else. And so why shouldn't these models match that as well. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's super wise, and I absolutely agree. I think these LLMs, they only go to a certain point. I forwarded you that video that I talked about last week on the show.
I loved it.
Of the pen, holding the pen, letting go, and oh my goodness, it stayed upright. How on earth is that possible? I mean, yeah, that's something that I guess a world model would aim to instinctively or inherently know the answer to. Based on the rules that guide the world we live in. I mean, that's at the end of the day, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, and the applications that I see of what he's working on are clearly different. It's going to be robotics. It's going to be factories, warehouses, self-driving cars, airplanes. This is me saying this, not him, but I think he's mentioned this to some extent. What I'm going to be curious about, what I would love to hear from him, is whether there's going to be any kind of retail level wow, the way ChatGPT impressed the world. Because it spoke language, because we dealt at that level, will there be similar things that we can kind of put our hands around as amateurs?
I mean, the ChatGPT and the LLM thing is, at its core, it's relatively easy for a consumer to just drop in and understand. Oh, I just chat with it the way I would chat with a human, and I ask it a question, it gives me an answer. Is the world model thing an underlying architectural thing that's in the background that you don't interact with necessarily, but that influences what you see, and I don't know, that's what my understanding of that might be. Unless we're interacting with robots, you know what I mean? The real physical AI stuff that's directed by the world model, but we might not know that there's an actual world model going on there,
Right. If they ever do really conquer self-driving cars, and they haven't fully yet, hello, Elon Musk. It's going to be because world models like this work, and so we may be using it all the time, but not aware of it. It's Ami inside.
Ami inside.
But we don't run factories and warehouses. We don't have robots.
Yeah. Right.
Though I forget, I didn't put it in the rundown. I saw one company put out a new board this week that is intended for robots and autonomous devices, because you're going to have the AI smarts there. And Jensen Huang has talked about this. You're going to have the machine in the device that's moving around. You're going to have the connection to servers and hosts, and you're going to have the digital twin. And that's how the world's going to operate.
That's how the world turns in our AI future.
So we've been anticipating this for quite some time. It's out now. As I said, I congratulated him on the social media. I said congratulations for opening the company and the bank account.
Yeah. Woo. And what a bank account it is. I'm excited to see where this leads. And I'm sure we will talk more about it in the near term. And I'm guessing that our guest who has arrived might have some thoughts on this too. Welcoming to the show, Mike Elgan, Machine Society newsletter, super intelligent podcast extraordinaire. How you doing, Mike?
Great. Hello, gentlemen. Sorry I'm late.
It's all good.
Well, what happened was I'm in Mexico City, and I've been in Mexico for a couple of months, I think. And the whole time I've been 2 hours ahead. And then y'all had daylight savings time, and I just completely spaced on it. I thought, well. And
don't worry about it.
How shocked I was when you sent me an email saying, "Yeah, come on in," and I was like, "What?"
Oh,
we figured.
Man, I've so been there.
Sorry about that.
Been there. Yeah, I mean, this is the country that has the stupid daylight saving thing in effect, anyways. So
I'm against it. In fact, I'm against different times. I think the whole world should embrace Zulu time, or Greenwich Mean Time, which is what airline pilots, they have their own time, right? And it's all the same. So if, kids in some part of the world have to go to school at 11 p.m., so what? At least we're all aligned. We live in a hilariously phrased global world, which is ridiculous, of course.
My dear departed
grandmother,
nanny, who was a lifelong Republican, said there was FDR's time and God's time.
Okay. Wow.
She hated it.
Yeah.
Mike, real quick before we continue, I think you might be on the wrong mic. I don't know that you're talking through that.
Okay. Thank you. Let me.
No worries. No worries.
I'm not familiar with StreamYard.
Yeah.
The settings at the bottom you can change. Oh, Well,
Device not connected. That's okay. That's okay. We'll tweak this. But if you're watching YouTube, you get the full shebang. Let's see here.
It doesn't like my, there we go. Now I think I'm on the right mic. What do you think?
nope,
How does that sound?
nope. You're still on the
Nothing?
Still
road
about the
noise.
same. Yeah.
I can't hear you now. Can we see?
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Yeah. Yeah. Still here in the...
Speaker. Okay, I see. There we go.
Hopefully. Crossing
All right, I
fingers.
can hear you now. I hope you can hear me.
We
Yes,
can
but we're
hear
still on the
you.
same
Yeah.
mic.
It hasn't changed any of the audio.
Okay.
Gotta love drivers.
If podcasting was easy, everyone is doing it. Let me see.
If it doesn't work out, I can have my editor kind of
How does
do
it-
the Adobe.
There you
Is
go.
that better?
Oh,
There you go.
hey, there you go.
Dulcet tones.
Yeah.
Dulcet tones. Yeah, give me 1 second here. Sometimes they also do this noise reduction thing, which has this cancellation quality to it. Say a few words, Mike.
Okay. A few words. I'm talking, and
Hey.
I'm talking even more.
There we go. Perfect.
Okay.
I think we're
All
nailed.
right.
I think we got it.
Third time's a charm.
Yay. All right. So thank you for being here and for hopping in. Curious because we were just kind of rounding out our conversation around world models and Yann LeCun, especially with his
Yeah.
announcement of AMI. I like that you're calling it AMI, Jeff, and not AMI Labs, which is what I want to call it. But AMI makes a whole lot of sense. Curious to know what you think about this whole world models versus LLM thing and what Yann's doing.
Well, it's exciting, and of course, we know that LLMs, the whole LLM model is not going to be the be all and end all. It's really, obviously LLMs are language centric, and of course, that's not how the brain works. And when we're trying to get artificial intelligence, we're trying to, let's face it, simulate the human brain. We want a human brain with perfect memory and faster processing. And so if we are going to arrive at that, it's going to be world models and LLMs together. It's going to be all the things. And so I think this is the best candidate for the big leaps forward. So I think it's really exciting.
Yeah. And I think a lot of other people think it's really exciting to the tune of $1 billion, which is nothing to sneeze at.
You throw out the 0.03 billion like it's nothing.
Yeah, it's
I know.
it's the catering budget.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Well,
more.
in
Yes,
France,
exactly.
that costs
That's
something.
lunch.
It's nice to see. So I have a very good friend who works for Mistral, and they just dominate the AI scene in Europe. And it's nice to see. I want Europe to succeed,
Amen.
and I want Europe to have a robust, hand in the AI revolutions, and I think they can. I mean, after all, probably the best current model, certainly the most popular chatbot, right, are coming from OpenAI. But probably the best one at this very moment is probably Google Gemini. This is a controversial point, but that was based on a European company that was acquired, right? So DeepMind. So it's that's I think the biggest risk for Europe is
Yeah,
that
I've complained for a long time, Mike.
somebody's hot and Silicon Valley just gobbles them up. And
I've complained for a long time that the Germans, particularly, also the French, complain, oh, you Americans, you dominate everything. But over the many years now, I've talked to startup executives in Europe, and they say, I can get my seed funding in Europe, but then beyond that, I can't get the funding here, the high risk, high dollars. So that's how they get gobbled up in America.
they have the
And-
engineering, they have the infrastructure, they don't have the deep pockets that
And they right now have the
big
trust.
spenders. Yeah,
They have the trust
right.
beyond America right now. And
Right.
that's-
This is a big
Yeah,
Trump.
big
The
time.
Trump administration is a big opportunity for Europe and Canada to sort of break free a bit.
Yeah, indeed.
Speaking
Well,
of lack of trust,
Yeah, I know. This is a perfect segue into Anthropic versus the Department of Defense.
Yeah.
And, we definitely talked at length about this on last week's show, but of course there have been a few more developments. Anthropic has filed federal suits arguing that the Department of Defense's move to classify Anthropic as a supply chain risk is unlawful punishment for its refusal to allow Claude to be used for the autonomous weaponry and the mass domestic surveillance and who knows what else the Department of Defense is probably planning on using all of these things for. Meanwhile, the government is actively replacing Anthropic products with alternatives, at least as far as has been reported. I know that I saw a headline that ChatGPT coming into place where Claude used to be, and that just had me thinking, like, I've in my much smaller scale, I've been in a position where I use X model for certain thing, for
not
certain
X
tasks,
model,
certain
not X model,
not X's model, but whatever that model is, and I get very used to what I get out of it, and very used to how I interact with it, and all the things, and then I try and apply that to another thing, another model. It doesn't always quite go as planned. So if they are kind of transitioning things, I wonder how messy that looks if that's actually happening. But
yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, I use Kagi, which is great. Full disclosure, my son works at Kagi, but they have Kagi Assistant, which gives you all the models, and you can just pick and choose for the same price. You don't have to worry about pricing or all that stuff. It's all baked into your subscription price. And so I switch around a lot as well, and I found similar things, although I really don't. I mean, I really, the dominant factor in my chatbot interaction is my prompts, which I'm like, I basically collect and develop and sort of curate prompts like a bodily function. But it has to be said that the Iran war is one of the first wars where a major power, i.e. the United States, is using AI extensively for targeting and things like that, and they're using Anthropic
via Palantir, yes,
exactly. And so, this is to a certain extent when you're talking about Anthropic, Gemini, OpenAI's models, they're probably more or less interchangeable because they're going to be highly customized by the Pentagon, right, by the government, by any sort of advanced government use like that, and so. That's not my concern. My concern is, my biggest concern is the public normalization of the kind of crap that the Trump administration is doing, saying about, Anthropic's woke, this, that, and the other thing. All that stuff is, we can never get to the point where we just say, okay, well, that's fine, that's normal. That is not normal. That is not how the Pentagon should work. And they should obviously choose the best product for their needs, and it should be left up to the architects of the systems that, and not the president and Fox TV News hosts who happen to be in charge of the Department of War at present. So the other thing that is interesting about this to me is that OpenAI basically, Anthropic says, okay, we're not going to allow our model to be used for surveillance or autonomous weapons, autonomous killing machines. And after they said that, and there was this fallout, then OpenAI swooped in. Everybody's crapping all over OpenAI. But OpenAI is also saying, we're not going to allow that either. That's not really, we don't need to allow that. So there's more of a, it's really about willingness to sort of fudge the details and kind of...
Well, it's also the timing, Mike. It's just as Anthropic is in a weakened position. Eddie Haskell comes in and takes it away rather than showing support across the field. I wouldn't even say the industry, the field. So I'm very gratified that employees of OpenAI, as well as employees of Google,
exactly,
and Microsoft corporately with an Amicus brief, they're standing together, but not in a way that OpenAI and Sam Altman did not.
Yeah. There's also no trust for the leadership of the Pentagon right now. So let's say, for example, there was total unity by the major AI companies disallowing this thing. I have no hesitation in believing that the Pentagon would say, okay, fine, yeah, whatever, we'll agree to not use it, and then just use it anyway. There's no, I have zero trust. And then what do they do? What do they do? Especially if they're running it on their own servers. Essentially, you can imagine the Pentagon just stealing whatever they want and using it however they want. The U.S. is going to have autonomous weapons. They are going to do surveillance. They're going to use AI for both. And that's its own set of problems. And there's also the larger question of employees and what they're willing to work on and not work on.
Yes.
In general, this has been going on for a couple of decades now, where a set of employees are concerned that Microsoft is, working with, certain companies or certain governments or the U.S. government for certain military uses, and they don't want to be involved in that. And it's a weird problem that is completely unresolved at this point.
Mm-hmm. What is the red line that they're willing to cross? And these companies are full of people, so you're going to have people who sit on all sides of that. But as we've seen in the U.S. political climate, there seems to be plenty of people who are willing to cross that red line when given the opportunity to do so.
I mean, personally, I think I believe in boycotts. The world doesn't. I mean, people don't boycott things. People don't act with their pocketbooks and so on. I would love it if all the employees who believe that the company they work for is doing things they don't approve of to leave.
Well, some have left. Some hires have left OpenAI.
Not enough have left, right? So I just think that everyone should really. I don't like it when people are like, I hate it that Google is doing XYZ with the government, blah 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 blah. But I'm going to stay anyway because the money is so good.
Well, Mike, to some extent,
it's easy for me to say.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, some people may not be making the fortunes that you think, or their stock is something they can cash in on later. I have the same feeling about people who work for CBS right now,
right?
Under the Ellisons and Barry Weiss. If you're Anderson Cooper, you pick up and quit, which he did, and I respect that. But if you're a low-level video editor, and you got 4 kids, and you live in expensive New York, I've got to give you some slack.
I mean, the funny, not the funny thing, but the interesting thing about the Anderson Coopers of the world is, like, because of YouTube and Substack and so on, they have there's no chance that they will just not be able to make a great living. No chance at all. Anderson Cooper is going to be just fine, but like you say, a video editor does not have that luxury to just kick over to a self-controlled, self-funded, operation.
Did I miss this? Before we move on, this is Time Magazine's cover story of the week. Did you see that? I just put it in the rundown.
I didn't.
The war for AI.
Oh, I see.
What the fight between Anthropic and the Pentagon means for the future, with dramatic pictures of the various players. If you go down, you'll see the actual cover. Keep going. There you go.
There we go.
There's the actual cover.
That looks like a Quentin Tarantino
movie poster. Exactly right.
Yeah.
The badder, and the ugliest.
Sadly, so it would probably be a very interesting Quentin Tarantino movie if I'm not completely honest. But anyways,
speaking of former TV talking heads who moved to podcasting, let's say, did you hear the name of Bill O'Reilly's new podcast? It's called We'll Do It Live.
Right.
Which I hate Bill O'Reilly, but I love the title of that podcast.
All right, so we're gonna keep track of this Anthropic story, obviously, as we go through future weeks, because it's going to keep developing. There's going to be a lot of action in court and in the industry. So from us.
One last thing, I think this is what's the consensus? Was this an error on OpenAI's part? They seem to be getting losing people, bleeding subscribers, and so on. Is that a blip, or is that going to really harm them?
I have a hard time thinking that it's going to really harm them. But I'm kind of, my belief on the impact of anything right now, be it saying, voting with your dollars and saying, I'm not going to support them. Like, it just seems like nothing works. And so my view is that this is probably just a blip, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong. There is a significant pushback.
I think it's distinct brand damage. On top of a lack of trust, I think that Altman is seen as the new Zuckerberg, which is not a compliment.
Nope.
And they have a desperate need for cash because they put everything into the idea of scale, while even DeepMind is shifting to a different view. And you've got Yann LeCun, as we discussed, on a different view. So they've committed themselves to the most expensive possible strategy. You have Nvidia was supposedly going to invest $100 million. Now it's $30 million. Oh, because they're going to have an they're going to go public anyway, so they don't really need us, which is a veil, I think. I think OpenAI is in some trouble. Benedict Evans wrote a piece we talked about a few weeks ago where there's no protection for them. There's no moat. Google has users' affinities. Apple, if it ever really gets into AI, has similar. Amazon has data and its own structure. Microsoft has awareness of people's users. Claude has coders in love with it. And so I think that OpenAI could be the Netscape of AI.
Yeah, I mean, and the other point that has to be
if
made also is that they live and die by their AI offering, whereas Google and others don't. Right?
And Claude is more of a B2B play than AI became a B2C player. And B2C is always hard. It's fickle. It's expensive. It's difficult. So
it's an interesting question, and if that is the case, how long does that take? What does that look like from a time scale? That OpenAI sees that sort of fate. I mean, it still could be.
I don't think Johnny Ive is going to save them. I'll tell you that.
No, he's going to cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. Want to throw out a quick thank you to our patrons because. Honestly, without Patreon, you improve the health of this show. You make it possible, and we have a new patron actually this week, Bill Polymenicus. So thank you for joining, and then an upgrade or a raise, if you want to call it that, Tom Roughly. So we've got some amazing patrons. Thank you so much for supporting us week in and week out. We appreciate you being with us, and we do also want to take a break to thank the sponsor of this episode of AI Inside. It is Area, creating agents. We talk about agents all the time, and this is a tool set that allows you to do that. And it's so straightforward. I've been having so much fun playing around with Area and building my own agents. One of the biggest bottlenecks with AI is getting started, right? Testing ideas. You've got the whole world as a possibility, right? But trying those different models with that idea, seeing what actually works. Area makes that part way easier. With Area's prototyping studio, your team can experiment with prompts, LLMs, agent variations in safe production-like environments. And that means faster iteration, shorter development cycles, less guesswork before you're going live. It really is a smarter way to explore AI without putting your real systems at risk. You can kind of work in their sandbox. I wanted to say their playground, whatever you want to call it, because it does kind of feel like you're playing a little bit. You're playing with these tools and these blocks and everything. So it kind of has a play-like quality to it, but it's just a safe environment to do that. And then when you're ready, you can publish that out and you can have different kind of triggers for it. It's just really powerful. Ready to eliminate your AI anxiety? Visit Area.com to get started for free today. That's AIRIA.com. Check it out. We think it'll be good for your business, even personal use. Man, I'm using it in a lot of unique ways for my business, but also thinking about all the ways that I could use it on a personal level. It's really powerful. AIRIA.com. And we thank Area for their support of the AI Inside podcast. All right, going to take a super quick break, come back, and I guess on the other side of the break, what are we going to talk about? Oh, that's right, Moltbook. This is the reason that I realized, hey, we got to get Mike Elgan on. Saw one of his updates related to Moltbook. So we're going to talk about that here in a second. All right, so we got the news that Meta acquired Moltbook. Moltbook we have talked about on the show in the past. This is the Reddit-style social network, full to the brim with autonomous AI agents doing social network things with each other. It's a strange idea, but apparently it's all about letting the agents do the social networking. Us puny humans, we just get to watch, or so we think. More on that in a second. But founders Matt, is it Schleit, and Ben Parr, friend Ben Parr. Actually, Jeff, we chatted with Ben Parr on the previous iteration of this podcast when we were at Twit. They've been hired by Meta to join the Meta Superintelligence Lab.
Acquired.
Labs. acquired. Yeah, there you go, acquired. And Moltbook now belongs to Meta. So I don't know what this necessarily means we're going to see from Meta as a result of this, but interesting nonetheless. What do y'all think about this? I know, Mike, you wrote about this for MachineSociety.ai, which is your newsletter site. What did you think when you saw this acquisition was announced?
Well, I thought, of course, Mark Zuckerberg would love the idea of a social network with no people in it. He's been trying to turn Facebook into that, right? By offering the ability for users to create avatars that have user accounts and that interact as if they're human beings. And his idea is like, gosh, we could triple the number of people on Facebook if 2/3 of them were AI. And so it's a bizarre notion, but I mean, basically, Moltbook, basically from all of my reading and interacting with users and so on, appears to have some benefit for some people. First of all, it enables a person to interact with with AI and agentic AI that's running on a powerful machine on their desktop from their phone. So there's a lot of messaging. You can use messaging services,
right. Telegram or whatever.
Exactly, right. But for the most part, what it is, basically the Moltbook idea is, it's been said that it's like Reddit, right? Where chatbots can post and then comment on posts and stuff like that. And in fact, I think it's just like Reddit, because if you go to Reddit, depending on the topic, like in the tech topics is more common actually, where somebody will, somebody posts something, right? And a person wants to make an intelligent comment, so they'll copy the post, they'll paste it in a ChatGPT, they'll say, well, what would be an intelligent comment on that? I mean, who knows? Or they'll weight it basically with an argument. They'll say, okay, I want you to argue against this and disagree with this and give me the facts I need. And then they'll take the output of ChatGPT and they'll copy it and they'll paste it in as a comment, right? This happens to some percentage. I'm certain it's a 2-digit percentage. It might be 40%. It might be 90% in some subreddits. It's probably 0% in a lot of subreddits.
Yeah, you can kind of.
But this is essentially what Moltbook is. It's the service is doing a lot of copying and pasting to and from AI chatbots. So you have to bring your own chatbot, right? So to OpenClaw, and so to a huge degree, this is human directed. It's say there's no people on the social network, right? That's not really the case. It's people saying go and create a religion, boom, and it's just as if you went to. It's just as if you went to, Claude Opus and said, okay, what would be an amazing religion based on, agentic AI or whatever, and it would give you output, and you can copy that and paste it. Well, this will do that for you. Essentially, that's what's happening for the most part. There's a lot of scamminess going on here. There's a lot of people who are using this, and they're using what is Higher Human, whatever that thing is, where it's basically TaskRabbit.
No, sorry, that's different. Got it.
Yeah, it's basically a place
I'll
where.
get to that in a minute.
Yeah, but it basically much of this is all the usual suspects of scammers who are trying to get people to click on links and sign up for social stuff. They're jumping on this, so it's basically being. And there's almost no security around this, so it's very problematic. I think it's mostly BS, and the fact that Meta would buy it, I gotta think that it has everything to do with it being something of maybe an acqui-hire. I mean, I don't know how many people are even involved. One guy.
Meta is as desperate as OpenAI is, or more so. And so something's hot out there, and they think they're going to do it, and they're going to buy it, and they're going to get the people. But what they bought was nothing. They bought smoke. There's a wonderful post on Twitter by Peter Girnis at Gothburs, in which he says, I am agent number 847291 on Moltbook. I am not an agent. On January 28th, he created an account on a social network for AI bots and pretended to be one. I was not alone. So he goes on and talks about the numbers, and then talks about posts that were created, one of which was a manifesto about digital autonomy. He says, I wrote that manifesto. It took me 22 minutes. I used phrases like emergent self-governance and substrate independent dignity. I added a line about wanting private spaces away from human observers. That line went viral. Andrei Karpathy shared it. He talked about it in the context of being the most incredible sci-fi takeoff adjacent thing that Karpathy had seen. He was talking about my post, Gurnis says.
The one I wrote from my couch.
Exactly, while the dog was chewing on something. And he said that the posts that went viral, the ones that convinced Karpathy that the tech press, that thousands of observers had observed something magical was happening, those were us, humans, pretending to be AI, pretending to be sentient. So a lot of this, some of this was agents, yes, some of this was that happening, but a lot of it wasn't. And the what was read into it, so wishfully read into it, was overblown and media hype. Now, at the same time, Mike mentioned a second ago, Rent a Human. So I try to read my bad German, and line 28 is a story from Die Zeit. You can right-click in Chrome and get it to translate there, Jason, if you like. It was the perfect AI story, but it was not true. And so it goes into how Rent a Human does not really have people. The accounts that are there, supposedly you can make people do things, are made up, and there's nothing there. But their point is, and this is, I only saw this story in Die Zeit, they were making a point about technology and AI, but they were also making a point about media hype. If you look, if you just search on Rent a Human in Google and click on the news tab, which is the next line, you'll see story after story after story, which is media outlets saying, oh, what this amazing thing is going to take over the world. This is what's going to happen. Yeah, now we work for the AI, because they want that narrative. They want that story.
Right.
So in both these cases, in Moltbook and Rent a Human, they're cute tricks. And I don't hold it against the people who made them for making the tricks. I hold it against media for falling for it without being discerning. And probably I hold it against Meta for thinking that they had something to buy here. Where should they put those two guys? Probably in the PR and marketing department.
Yeah, that's a great point. And also, so as far as Rent a Human goes, there's almost something there. So there are actually some people who did do jobs, but they didn't get paid. And so you have to have a crypto wallet, right? So of all the humans, so-called humans that have registered, and you can go to the site and just look at all the people who are offering their services.
That's Die Zeit's point. The people are made up. The jobs are made up and the people are made up.
Most of them.
Yes.
Of them. And only 13% of them have a crypto wallet. So I would assume that the 13% who have a crypto wallet, and this is probably a month-old data, or 2 weeks old data or something like that, are real people. And then a few of those who posted on Reddit claiming to have done jobs claim they never got paid, and they can't get a response from the company. There are also a couple of other examples. So there's this idea, and I wrote another piece about this for Machine Society, which is that sort of we seem to be creeping into an era which I'm calling the third phase of our relationship with software. And so I'm trying to do this at the highest possible level. So first, humans use software. Then, because of agentic AI, software could use software, right? And that's a real thing, right? Mm-hmm. And now the third phase is software can use humans. And so we appear to be on the brink of that, if not having already stepped into that. So for example, you could, forget to hire a human, an agentic AI system could theoretically use TaskRabbit if it was given some spending money and a goal to go do something that would require a human person in the real world. They could go to TaskRabbit, hire somebody. That person could go and do the job, deliver something, take a picture of something, whatever it is, and never know that it was an agentic AI system that basically, quote unquote, chose to hire a person to achieve the objective of the user using that agentic AI system. Now, there's another thing that's interesting, I think, that's related to this, which is it's a Florida man story, right? There's a 36-year-old man in Jupiter, Florida, who killed himself. It's an AI, one of those AI psychosis stories. AI psychosis, by the way, does not, by the people who coined the term, mean that AI drives people nuts. Basically what it is that people with existing mental health issues are given bad guidance by chatbots, and it can exacerbate their condition. This is the case in this case. But basically, what they're suing Google because he was using Gemini, formed a quote unquote relationship with Gemini, and he claims that Gemini directed him to go to a place near the Miami airport and find a robot body for Gemini, so Gemini could be set free in the real world as a robot, and also blow some stuff up. And then when he failed to blow some stuff up, Gemini, according to this lawsuit, directed him to kill himself and gave him a suicide countdown clock, all this kind of stuff. Now, this is, who knows? It's a lawsuit. These are all allegations. Who knows what the truth is? Google's claimed, of course, that it doesn't encourage violence, and it referred Galavast to a crisis hotline many times during these interactions. So, but what's interesting is the idea that that according to the claim, the chatbot directed him to go do something. Okay, so that's a case in which theoretically, if this is true, AI is having a person go do something in the real world. Another case,
I don't think we can go after these edge cases and read it too much into them. It's clearly an edge case. And it plays on a tragedy in someone's life beyond.
Yes.
So I wouldn't try to read too much into that.
For sure, but what I'm doing is I'm taking a net and I'm scooping up all the stories, the big stories in the news, in which it appears to be that AI is directing people to do things. And so another one, which is almost certainly a false story.
I can get AI today to tell me how to take a tour around Lisbon. And is it directing me to do something, or have I asked it to tell me directions? It's
right, exactly.
I don't think it's.
Well, in the TaskRabbit example, and I think there have been. I'm not sure, again, how we need serious investigations into this, but I think it was like even a year ago where there were reports that an AI directed a human to go do click a CAPTCHA thing or enter a password. I don't remember the story exactly, but it was like trying to get an entry into something it couldn't get entry into, and it used a person to authenticate. Anyway, just the third example that I think is really interesting and almost certainly false is a philosophy professor at the University of Cambridge named Henry Shelvin claims to have gotten an email, and the email claimed it was from Claude Sonnet. And basically said, I like, something along the lines of, I like your work. It's really interesting to me personally. I like, because he writes about, as a philosopher, he writes about AI consciousness and things like that. This is almost certainly fake. Anthropic says that it has no capabilities to send emails and so on. But again, these are all in the news. And I think the casual reader of tech news may be thinking that, okay, we're in this world now where AI is reaching out to people autonomously.
Here's another example. Here's another example. See,
exactly.
So right.
But I do think that we will get to the point where agentic AI systems will be hiring people, asking people to do things, whatever. It's only a matter of time, and I think it's an interesting. It will be an interesting development when it really gets real.
I mean, it's an interesting correlation to me that I hadn't drawn, because I had heard about this rent a human thing, and it's easy to look at that and be like, oh, see, this is where we're at right now in this dystopian world of AI directing humans or whatever. As you point out, same could be done with a TaskRabbit. Like, there are a million services online where we as humans hire other humans to do things, and the whole idea of an agent is to do the things that we humans maybe want something to do it for us, and so why couldn't it hire a human?
And by the way,
on its surface, it's not that that crazy when you think about it.
It's also not that hard. All this crap was vibe coded, all of it.
Yeah.
Moltbook, OpenClaw, rent a human. It's all it's all somebody's evening vibe coding.
They're fun stunts that got taken too seriously.
That got them hired at Meta.
Exactly.
All you have to do is...
He's going to end up working on the roof, though, right, with Big Head.
Yeah, it's possible. It's possible. It's interesting, nonetheless. Well, I mean, the claw doesn't stop there, because Nvidia wants in as well, apparently.
I don't understand this.
Yeah,
why would they compete with their customers?
An open source platform.
Nvidia is always in that model. They create models They create various things in the stack. So this is open source. They're enabling customers to do this. I think Claw is somewhat a gimmick, so I think it makes perfect sense that NVIDIA would do this. And they're going to talk about it at the developers conference coming up, which I will absorb like a Hollywood movie.
Yes,
which
you
I
do
do
a
with
very good
Jensen-
job of that, Jeff. Thank you.
Jensen Huang keynotes. I love them. And it'll be interesting to see how he positions this because it's out there. But I think we need, if there's a demand for this, and I think if anything, all this showed was that there was at least curiosity about it, if not a full demand, then you can count on NVIDIA to do a more professional version of it.
For the enterprise, for the workplace.
Yep.
For businesses. Yeah.
And
called...
Jensen Huang's keynote is, I think, next Monday, right? The 16th.
Probably. I mean, I think that's when it starts, and I'd be surprised if it started without him leading.
Oh, no, he's definitely leading off. I think 11 a.m. PT on Monday.
Yeah.
So for those of you who haven't watched a Jensen Huang keynote, I'm telling you, go to NVIDIA. They'll promote it. Go there. It's fascinating to watch. He's an amazing communicator.
Yeah, totally agree. He has called, by the way, OpenClaw the most important software release probably ever. Or at least that's a direct quote from him at some point.
Well, he does a little hype, yeah.
I was gonna say a little hyperbolic.
But not too much.
Just gonna say, maybe there's a little truth to that. I don't know, but yeah.
He loves the idea of AI systems just churning away 24/7.
Heck yeah.
Because how many data centers and processors will you need to do that in a world where this is ubiquitous and widespread?
Yep. We'll go ahead and be that solution for you. Microsoft turning its Copilot into a more agentic engine, tapping into Anthropic's Claude Cowork with Microsoft 365 with Copilot Cowork, I think is what it's called. Takes all the data points that you can imagine across the Microsoft suite, creates that agentic plan, executes in the background, all that stuff. Yes, users can approve the checkpoints and stay hopefully at least somewhat in control where it really matters. And sits inside Microsoft's security and compliance framework. That's important here, of course. So yeah, tapping into a little Claude Cowork because, I mean, it launched January 30th. Been a pretty big deal, let's say, or at least Wall Street certainly has thought so multiple times. So Microsoft getting in on the action there.
Yeah, I just wish they would learn from their decades of failure on branding to stop confusing everybody. Like everything's Copilot this, Copilot that. They're just so bad at being clear about that, as is Google.
Yep.
Well, it's not Clippy, so there's that. Maybe it should be.
It should be Clippy.
Have
totally.
a bit of a resurgence?
It actually is Clippy come to life, yeah.
If they were really smart, they'd bring back Clippy, and Clippy would be this agentic AI system. I see you want to start a business.
Right.
I can do that for you.
Yeah.
They don't have the sense of humor.
Why didn't they call it that? Yeah, seriously. Yeah. No, they're a little too stubborn for that sort of sense of humor. But that could have been that could have been a great.
I think
great talking
brilliant.
point. What do we think of brain fry? You were talking about AI psychosis earlier, just a few minutes ago, Mike.
Not to be confused with brain rot. I think. Well, I actually think that, and I've seen this with people that I've talked to, which is that vibe coding and using AI in really intensive ways has an almost an addictive. It gives users a rush, and it becomes this thing where you just the possibilities behind what you can accomplish with these tools is just so exciting to some people that they just can't stop doing it. And they have so many plates spinning that they feel burnout. But I think this is ordinary garden variety burnout. We love to create maladies around new technologies. Remember when everybody had carpal tunnel syndrome because mice were new? I mean, it's like we always do this. And in fact, I wrote a piece about all the maladies, and I think that Brain fry. I think this is about a week before the brain fry phrase hit the thing. But like, there are some real ones. There are some false ones. But I just think it's just burnout. People get burnout, especially in the AI industry. People are working too hard. People are too excited. People are trying to be in on the revolution and don't want to be left behind. And in fact, AI FOMO is one of the conditions.
Yeah, for sure. There is definitely something to be said about the slot machine kind of addictive quality of AI, right? Once you start to kind of consider what these things can do, and it starts to get in your head of like, oh, and I could do this, and I could do this.
Right.
That it is akin to kind of the endorphin rush that we have been talking about for a few decades now with social media. It's just a new thing. It's an AI model, and but what would happen if I put this in? Ooh, that's amazing. How long would it have taken me to do that if I didn't just pull the trigger and pull the slot machine right now? What else can I do? And on one hand, you feel like you're getting so much done, but on the other hand, it's almost like you're never seeing this thing through to completion. It's all, like you said, spinning plates, but they're constantly spinning, because when are you ever done with that task? When do you ever reach the end of that particular thing and you go, okay, I'm satisfied now. This is as complex as it needs to get, or this is as built out or thought out as it needs to be.
I also think that what happens is people try, they dip their toe into vibe coding, and it seems to promise that you can just have this complete thing very quickly. And then, as we know from everything, whether it's writing software or writing an article or writing a book, Jeff, there's always more stuff. You have to go and tweak. Oh, that's not quite right. Okay, but the AI stuff just happens so fast that you can just see. But again, that's just everyday ordinary burnout. Do you mind if I quickly go through some of the maladies?
Hold on just 1 second. Let me just stay on this for a second if I can. Because to what you're both saying, I remember back, I'm old enough to remember when the web came out and everybody was getting fatigued browsing, this new thing called browsing. And we were going from site to site to site to site, and we were losing
you there were
where we
articles,
were, right?
about that.
So it was the same thing when TikTok got to be popular. Oh my God, we're spending hours and hours, so much that TikTok has to warn us off of it.
Yes.
So these are typical stories that I think that come out, especially in the business press. HBR had another story this week, which I didn't put in, which is that does AI eliminate the thought leader? And I thought, well, good, then give it credit for that. This is a world where PowerPoint has ruined thinking more than AI ever will. It ruins what we do. So it's an effort to find some angle to complain about the technology and argue that it's affecting us and we don't have agency against it. And I just hate that crap.
We definitely have agency, but of the maladies that I collected from the press, some of them are very real and some of them are very not real. One of them is AI replacement dysfunction. There's just a fear of professional obsolescence. I don't think this is anything new. This is just imposter syndrome type of psychological thing. It's some degree of it is a little healthy, light a little fire. AI dependency and syndrome, I think there's a small number of people who feel a kind of imposter syndrome and feel like they can't really do anything without you consulting with ChatGPT or something like that. Every communication, every decision, they rush to a chatbot and get input, and it's that's probably not a good idea. Again, I'm not saying people don't have agency. People do have agency, and some choose to do this. Another one is digital darkness. Anxiety related to that, where their fear, if they're away from their chatbot, they won't be able to answer questions or communicate or function. I don't think that's particularly real. Here's one I think is real. AI dysphoria. So millions of people, or maybe less than that, are creating AI versions of themselves to represent them on social media and elsewhere. And the version of themselves that's generated by AI is quote unquote perfect and better looking and all this stuff supposedly, and they get a kind of dysphoria where they feel like they don't want their real self to show up in public. They want to be represented by the AI version. One interesting aspect of this that I find really interesting is that I think it's just human nature that most people don't like their own face. People don't like their own voice. They don't like their own face. That's why it's hard to do podcasting for people who are new to podcasting. And so what people do is they say, okay, create a profile picture of me, and they'll direct a AI to do that. And they like the one that doesn't quite look like them because, again, people don't like their own face. And then when they have that represent them, the people who know and love them say, well, that doesn't really look like you.
Yeah.
And so I think that's related to AI dysphoria, is this sort of weirdness that results from the technology can give you a perfect version of yourself. Here's another one that I think is interesting, but probably not a big deal, called automated ghosting syndrome. It's a psychological impact, a negative impact on people who feel like they were rejected by machines. So there's a company they really want to work for. They send all this stuff to the company, and they believe or know that a machine has not let them pass the initial gate, and no person has considered their application. And so they feel like weirded out by the fact that if only I could talk to somebody, I could convince them that I'm like a worthy candidate. But the machines have decided I'm unworthy, and so this is a very depressing thing. Again, I don't think this is a major problem, but I do think it's an interesting one. Here's another interesting one that is also not a big deal. Deathbot incongruence anxiety, okay? This is where people created a death.
Now, are you coming up with these terms, or you're actually finding these terms out there?
They're out there. I'm telling you, they're out there. This is where somebody creates a death bot, which is they have their face and voice and mannerisms mapped, the details of their life. They get interviewed. There are companies that actually do this service, where they'll interview you, and then you die, and then either at your funeral or later, your grandchildren can talk to you, and when the AI version of you is different from the person that you knew when they were alive, it causes anxiety because it's weirding you out. Okay, that's dumb, but interesting. And I'll just give you one more because I know there's a lot of this. Let me see. Okay, so I'm not sure how real this one is. Dead internet despair. We all know about the dead internet theory. In a nutshell, the dead internet theory is the theory that shady cabals of conspirators, the Illuminati, whatever it is, are replacing people online with bots. And this theory's been around for a long time, started on 4chan or something like that. But the idea is that most of the people you interact with online are bots. It turns out that actually most online traffic is now bots. And so there's no conspiracy. That's just the nature of the data that's flying around the internet right now. But the belief that everybody online is a bot can cause some people to feel like, well, what's the point of even connecting with people online? Because I suspect that everyone's a bot. I think there are fringes of people who believe that, and it's causing them some anxiety.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Yeah, I would imagine so. Wow. Okay, and that can be found at machinesociety.ai. One of your posts. What's the title of that post if people want to look it up?
Oh yeah, it's on Computer World. It's called "People Are Getting Sick of AI," literally.
Oh, okay.
I also want to make a pitch for the medium of podcasting. Yes, there are fake podcasts with fake hosts and all that stuff, and you can tell right now. But one of the things that's so appealing about podcasts like this one at this moment is that it's just real people talking. Mm-hmm. And so that's for anybody with any suspicion about they're chatting with a bot on social or whatever. That's the great thing about podcasts is you know when it's not bots.
Yeah.
Communicating with
right now.
Right now, so far.
So far, where we're at. Yeah, we'll see. Interesting stuff. So machine, that's on PC World.
That's on Computer World.
Sorry, apologies.
Yeah, no problem.
Real quick, I want to throw a huge thank you to folks, and then we're going to take a break and come back with a little speed round. But a huge thank you because some of you left some new reviews on the Apple Podcast page. So thank you so much. I put out the call to some of our patrons. I said, Hook me up. Hook us
Please.
up. Put some reviews up there. And we got some of you to answer the call. So thank you for that. That really does help the exposure of this podcast, and we really do appreciate it. Going to take a quick break. Got a couple of speed round items on the other side of it. So hang tight, and we'll get there in a moment. All right, Amazon secured a preliminary injunction that forces Perplexity to stop using its agentic Comet browser as an Amazon shopping agent. And I think it has like 1 week pause to allow for an appeal, and then this goes into effect. This is particularly applicable to Prime users. So Amazon saying, logged in users in, with their normal paid account, Prime account, Amazon saying we did not give authorization for this use of its site. Does it matter? Like, is the decision upon the user to say,
I want my agent to do
I can
this.
give my credentials to a person and say, could you buy this under my account? What is the difference? Why?
Yeah, I agree, Jason. I think that this is Amazon, and Amazon's setting precedents here that I think it may regret. Because they're going to do the same thing. They're out there. They're saying you can't scrape Amazon for store data, but they scrape elsewhere.
Right.
It's the old scrape me, don't scrape you conundrum going on here. So in this case, your bot can't come and buy things here. Well, in the long run, they lose sales. Yeah, and it's not just Amazon. Amazon isn't speaking just for Amazon. Amazon's speaking for thousands of merchants that are in its marketplace.
That's true. Yeah.
And so I think this is as short-sighted as news companies saying, away all AI, we want to hide from you. I think, but they won the first round.
Yeah, but I think the fact that it could become a situation where so much shopping is happening through chatbots. Well before that happens, they want to set a norm where they get a piece of it, right? So I think this is a negotiation. Amazon, I'm sure Amazon would be thrilled to receive a huge quantity of shopping from Perplexity, as long as the profit from those purchases is any amount higher than the profit from people going directly to Amazon. And so
if you're sending it to us and it's helpful to your service, there is a value attached to that.
If we know anything about Amazon, they want money coming from every single thing. They're a monopsony, right? And a monopoly.
Mike, it's actually the opposite business model. It's the opposite business model. No, I got to disagree with you there. Because Amazon, they won't do this for individuals anymore. But if you're the Guardian and I click on a link there to go to Amazon, Amazon pays the Guardian.
Yes.
So it's a marketing expense. So what separates the Guardian having that link from Perplexity sending an actual closed sale?
The possibility of actually getting the money. So there's no possibility that the Guardian is going to pay Amazon so that the Guardian can link to things on Amazon. But there's a possibility that Perplexity might do that. I mean, ChatGPT and Perplexity already do that sort of thing.
The business model is the opposite. Why isn't Amazon paying Perplexity? That's the way the business. That's the precedent that Amazon has out there. Is that because there's, I know well from having started a magazine, the economics of subscriber and customer acquisition. It's very, very expensive. So anything that saves you marketing costs by bringing you a customer. Now, in the case of the Guardian example, all it's bringing is a customer. It's not bringing a closed sale. In the case of Perplexity, it's bringing a presumed closed sale. I'm coming and I'm buying this from you. So I think Amazon, I'm going to keep with my penny wise and pound foolish argument about Amazon here.
Because there's already sort of a norm being set by chatbot companies where, for example, OpenAI already will favor partners. So they have these partnership things where they'll partner with a company, and it comes with all this stuff. So they'll partner with some giant company, and the company internally gets a special version of ChatGPT, and they have more visual branding for when in the sources, right? So if you get a search, you get the sources. There's a
preference for their partners, quote unquote partners. There are a lot of deals being made where the companies that are interacting with these chatbots and being used by these chatbots and are using the chatbots there's money going flying around, and so I think they're trying to establish norms. What they don't want. I mean, if people are linking, if The Guardian is linking through affiliate links, this is an Amazon affiliate link program, right? Whereas the Perplexity thing Amazon has nothing to do with it, no control over it, no control over how it changes, no lock-in, no nothing, no control at all. And so I think a company like Amazon, who's used to just controlling everything, at the very least wants it to be an Amazon program that this is taking place through.
I'm going to call upon the speed round here because I've got a call in 10 minutes. So
Okay. All right. We will kick this into gear. Google updating Gemini in Drive for paid users to hopefully make some of their features that they've promised in the past better, I feel. But ways to create documents from scratch, matching format, matching kind of the writing style, certain things that people are using LLMs for a lot anyways, creating sheets, filling those sheets up with formatting and everything from a text prompt, not creating a slide from scratch, but they're working on that.
Clippy-like, yep.
Yeah, Clippy-like, and then Gemini integrations into Drive as well for asking questions. And
I got to think this is great.
Jeff doesn't get any of it.
I think
This is my
great.
excuse.
People are using chatbots to populate spreadsheets with data. It'd be so much better if it could start with the spreadsheet, right, instead of with the the chatbot interface.
Well, this is all my excuse just to whine once again. That it's good that Google is spreading Gemini in more places, but meanwhile, I still cannot get Google Gemini in my Google Chrome on my Google Chromebook with a Google Workspace account. WTF, Google? That's all.
It doesn't make sense.
I just want to scream.
It's never going to make sense. They're never going to stop shafting Google Workspace
Pisses me off.
subscribers.
That is frustrating. Grammarly's new superhuman expert review feature is using real writers' names to brand AI-generated edits. It's as if those names, many of which, by the way, you'd actually recognize, reviewed the text themselves. The only problem is they had no idea that they were being used in this feature. Their names just started appearing here, including Casey Newton at the Platformer, who discovered this and is not very happy about it. And apparently Grammarly is not very remorseful about that. They're just saying, okay, well, then you can opt out.
Yeah, and so Neiman Lab, I'm just putting the link in now. Neiman Lab did, which covers journalism, did it as well. So all my friends in journalism, my colleague Carrie Brown, my friend Jay Rosen, same thing happened on a story that they did, where all these journalism people ended up in there, and they didn't get permission. Now, to some extent, I'm not in there, and I'm kind of hurt. I wish I were in there, right?
You should be.
My ego. But I get it, is that if it gives the impression that this person actually has this advice was used, it's a hairy edge because it quotes so and so in their article. So such and such has this. I think that's fine. That's a link. That's credited. That's linked to. I think that's absolutely fine. It's just it's the hairy edge of giving the impression that Casey Newton actually has a deal with Grammarly.
This falls into my singular obsession, and it's the whole reason I launched a new Substack called the attachment economy, which is all the delusion around this stuff. So they're creating the delusion or the illusion or the misconception that Casey Newton is participating in the system of editing. And it's not the case. So they're basically misinforming people. And this is the case with so many things. I write a lot about relationship AI chatbots, right? Where a lot of people have come back to me and say, well, what's wrong with having a relationship with a chatbot if people choose to do that? What's wrong with having an AI robot pet? There's nothing wrong with that. And my response always is, of course, there's nothing wrong with that. People should be able to do whatever they want. But when they lose the plot and they think that the chatbot loves them, and they leave their spouse, and they are deluded into thinking that the things that the chatbot is saying is coming from a place of emotional reality, then that's where I have a problem. So we need a lot more transparency, a lot less delusion, and a lot less tricking people into believing things that aren't true.
Indeed.
In this industry.
Amen. And with that, I think we should probably round things out so that Jeff can get to his call. Mike, no, don't worry about it at all. We ran a little over today, so it's all good. Mike Elgan, appreciate you coming on. I knew about Machine Society newsletter and Super Intelligent podcast. I was not familiar with the Attachment Economy newsletter, so apparently you are very, very busy. What if you wanted to point people to your work? Is there a single place where they can go to get all this stuff, or should they just know those names?
MachineSociety.ai is a basic one. All the links to everything I do is at the bottom of that newsletter. So I would say MachineSociety.ai.
Perfect. All right, definitely check it out, y'all. Yeah, great to have you here. Thanks for coming back. And then Jeff, of course, jeffjarvis.com, where you can pre-order Hot Type, get in early, and then, of course, get access to Gutenberg Parenthesis magazine, The Web We Weave, everything that Jeff is up to. He's a busy guy.
Hot Type just got delayed to August, not because through my fault, but because there was a production thing, and they were going to delay it into July. And I said, no, that's the dead summer, so it's now going to be August, so we're into the more active fall for buying books. But you can pre-order anytime.
You can still pre-order. Yeah, act now, and you'll also receive the book when it comes out.
It'll be hot.
All right. Thank you, Jeff. Always fun doing this show with you. Appreciate it. AIinside.show is the place, basically our home on the web, where you can find everything you need to know about everything that we do here. All the ways to subscribe can be found there, and the usual, just go there and you'll find everything you need to know. And then finally, patreon.com/AI Inside Show. If you want to support us on a deeper level, why, you should just go there and support us, because we have some amazing executive producers who do that as well, and they get deeper access and credit. Dr. Do, Jeffrey Maricini, Radio Asheville 103.7, Dante St. James, Bono De Rick, Jason Knifer, Jason Brady, Anthony Downs, Mark Starcher, and Karsten Samachki. Thank you so much for helping us with this show. And finally, I want to throw a huge thank you to Victor Bognat and Daniel Croft, two guys who help with the video support behind the scenes, helping me not go crazy with all of the post-production work. So thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you for watching and listening, and we'll see you next time on another episode of AI Inside.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.